What's going on, everybody? Collin here with CH Sports, bringing you guys some commentary from the 2023 Jammin Jellyfish out at Trojan Park. This is the back nine, and again, I am joined by Mr. Daniel Kitchens here in the booth. Danny, say what's up to the people.
What's up? Welcome back to round one of the Jammin Jellyfish. Here are front nine scores. We got Scott and Chris at 4 under. We got Justin Anderson at 5 under, and Dallas with a bit of a slow start at 3 over par.
Yeah, and as we move into, again, one of the iconic holes here at Trojan, the Crescent hole. Hole 10, we're playing as a par 4 today. Really doesn't matter what you call the par on this thing. 4 is probably going to be a pretty common score. Threes and 4s are going to be the two most common scores. Here's one of the plays. If you're a big arm, some people are going to go straight for the 2 all the way over the water. Another common play you'll see is a sidearm just for placement into the fairway, and then another sidearm up to the green. Jando throwing the backhand placement shot, maybe unintentionally, but still going to work out fine for a birdie.
The important thing to know on this hole with the backhand drive is you want to err on the side of overturning the disc, because as you can see what Scott did here, he is out of bounds, but because he crossed the path on the right hand side out of bounds, he's going to take it almost all the way up at the basket, versus what some people might do, might early release to the left hand side, and if you do that and you don't cross, that is going to be twice the penalty, because you're going to be essentially re-teeing.
Justin Anderson going to be able to tap in his birdie. And Dallas pitching up for his as well. And Scott still left with a bit of a long putt to try and get his birdie.
A good effort.
And Chris from circle 2. Man, the putter stays hot for Chris Nelson from everywhere. And here's our first slow-mo replay of the round here. Chris coming to that full extension point. And the disc just slowly hyzers its way on into the basket. Doesn't need too many chains. Would have caught on a chainless basket, I think. Pretty much right on the pole the whole way.
Just gonna give props to Chris. You know, he doesn't give himself enough credit for his circle 2 putting. He always talks about how he can't make a jump putt outside 50 or 60, but that was a good bit of 60 feet and in a clutch situation to catch the eagle. So good job, Chris.
And everybody doing what they're supposed to do on that hole. Scott throws his tee shot out of bounds and is able to get up and down for the par. Chris hits a big putt for the eagle, and then Justin and Dallas able to get their birdies. Daniel, why don't you tell us about hole 11?
Hole 11, 650-foot par 4. The tee shot, you're kind of just trying to throw about 400 feet, somewhere middle-ish. It's really all on the second shot again. You've got 4 or 5 of these guardian trees. You've got the OB path to the left, and then the right-hand side bushes are going to be out of bounds. So you really want to be in the middle so that you can set up a nice 300-foot mid-range shot up to the basket.
Yeah, Chris going mid-range off the tee here. Not sure why he's playing this hole so conservative off the tee. Maybe he's trying to play to a certain yardage on his second shot, but that was something that surprised me as I was editing this coverage for sure.
I think Dallas is a little bit more with the traditional drive there, pushing probably closer to that 400-foot mark. And Scott's going for the bigger turnover line. This is the way to really get up there. This will shorten your approach to maybe 250 feet, which is a huge advantage when you're trying to navigate these trees.
Justin overturns his second shot. That's really one of the main mistakes that you're trying to avoid. Just because there is that OB over there, and then you're OB so early that you're not left with a putt, versus if you go OB on the left side, you're at least left with a putt to try and save your par. And Chris throwing a pretty much ideal second shot. Maybe going to have 20 feet left for his birdie. And like you said, Scott's yardage probably about 250 on into the green here.
Yeah, a couple of nice approaches from those guys. I imagine Justin's probably not too happy with that, but he was in bounds on that right side, so getting a par isn't too bad either.
And Dallas, the putter, starting to come to life here. Nice birdie putt there from Dallas.
When I got to play with Dallas at the Oregon State Championships, that first round he shot 9 down. I don't think I saw him miss a single putt inside 60 feet. So no surprise that he's converting from that circle's edge range. Yeah,
Dallas has a what I would call a very aggressive spin putt. And man, when he's feeling it, he's feeling it. He's one of those guys that as soon as he gets the putter going, his range is all the way out to probably about 60 feet standstill. And so, you know, when he's feeling it, he's feeling it. He makes a bunch of putts for sure. Our card playing that hole pretty well. We got 3 birdies, and then Justin Anderson throwing the errant second shot, able to save his par. As we move into hole 12, quick story, I have a tournament 14 on this hole. I really do. It's insane to look back at that and say I have a 14, a sanctioned 14 on a hole, but this is the one. This is the one to do it to you. OB carry pretty much the entire way. 2 popular plays here. Backhand pretty much straight at it, or a forehand that hangs over the water. Dallas playing this a little bit safer off to the right side. There is a OB path off to the right side as well to think about, but that's probably 50 feet right of the basket. Scott throwing a pretty conservative forehand, hits the tree and is lucky to stay in bounds. Probably has about 40 feet coming up the bank left for his birdie.
I imagine that Paige added the drop zone after seeing your score on this hole. I think there's a drop zone this year, and it's probably about an 80-footer, and that pretty much prevents the tin cup scenario where you're just throwing in the water and then reteeing and throwing in the water again. So fortunately for these guys, they just threw good tee shots to begin with, but this hole improved, in my opinion, as you're not going to see those ginormous numbers that are tournament killers.
Yeah, when this hole was a stroke and distance hole, that was just designed to be a tournament killer, like you're saying. Dallas hits the nice tester there for par. Chris able to tap in his birdie. And then should just be a couple of par tap-ins from everybody else.
Yeah, excellent shot from Chris. When you're throwing that backhand, you're pretty much flipping up some kind of mid-range. You'll often see people go right of the first tree just to play it a little bit safer. But it looks like Chris had such a perfect line that he had the easy birdie, which gets him to cool 8 down through 12.
That's how Chris does it, man. He just throws his drives in bounds, makes a couple of putts, and all of a sudden he's 8 down through 12. It's crazy. And as we step up to hole 13, it's a 309-foot par 3. OB left, OB right. Pretty much just your conventional tunnel shot par 3. Here's a pretty popular play. A lot of people are just going to be throwing the forehand off to the right side of the basket and then living with whatever putt they're left with on that right side. There is also a pond that is long of the basket. I believe we're playing it as casual in this tournament. I'm not 100% certain.
I think if you're in the pond, like fully surrounded by the water, I think it might have been out of bounds, but most people aren't too worried about that. It's a good 30, 40 feet past, and it's not a very big pond. Looks like Justin got a little sneaky, and maybe he is flirting with the water.
Ooh. Dallas just an inch high from maybe 60 feet there.
Chris again from circle 2. Oh my gosh. All the putts are going in for Chris. Looks
I'm
like...
gonna let you know now. We've gotten through enough of the rounds that I can kind of disclose this information. While I was editing this round, I was literally visibly upset with how many putts that this guy made. It's unbelievable. He's hit everything he's looked at so far.
Oh man, unfortunate for Justin that he Okay, that means Justin's going to be taking a bogey on what wasn't the worst shot. Unfortunate break for Justin, but good birdie for Scott.
Dallas going to tap in his par, and then, like you said, this will be a bogey for Justin Anderson as we move into hole 14. Chris gets it to 9 down through 13.
Yeah, that's getting it done. Good job from Chris. Good job from Scott. He's playing well too.
And we're going to move into a commercial break.
Introducing the Mojo Riser. With multiple attachment options, the riser can elevate almost any disc golf bag. Its innovative lightweight design helps reduce stress on your back and body, while also leaving ticks and dirt on the ground, so your bag and towel stay clean and dry. The riser performs on hills, even when you can't. Only do half the lifting and save energy during your rounds. Pre-order your Mojo Riser today at mojogear.com.
Got it. Elevation for your mind.
All right, as we step into the new hole 14, I got to thank the guys over at Mojo Riser. Head over to their website. They're running a special for an extra 10% off everything on their website until Halloween. So go head over there and check out a Mojo Riser if you haven't. Danny, why don't you tell us about hole 14?
Another one of these shorter two-shot par fours. Brand new hole. Typically we play down the end of the peninsula as a 400-foot par 3, but we've got two-shot par 4. Roughly you're trying to throw like 250, maybe 300 feet off this tee. I think Justin's got this going maybe too far. Maybe it might have been okay. And then from here, the hole is playing as an island. And for round one, this hole averaged 4.25, which surprised me. The fourth hardest hole. Probably because most of these players are unfamiliar with this new pin position.
Yeah, I was also kind of shocked by that, just because the two shots that it takes to birdie this hole are very, very standard. It's like you said, a 280 to 300 foot hyzer to another like 250 foot hyzer. Really, the only difficulty on this hole is the second shot you're throwing over OB onto an island green, but the shot itself is, again, like most of this course out here at Trojan pretty standard, just surrounded by OB.
I think that path can just catch up to you really quick. If you go directly at the basket, at some points the path is only about 22, 23 feet away. I know in my experience in the first round, I thought I threw a pretty good upshot from the landing zone and found myself OB. That's how I took a bogey, along with, looks like a couple of these guys.
Dallas executing pretty much a stock birdie there. Just throwing his 320-foot hyzer and then throwing another 270-foot hyzer to 15, 20 feet and cashing the putt.
I imagine these guys will learn from what they did wrong here and probably play this a lot better in the second round, as this is probably the shortest or the easiest par 4 on the course.
Yeah, I think it's just to me, it's a slightly easier version of hole 1. It's a very similar, you're carrying water on the second shot. Your first shot's really all about position into a quote-unquote island green. We got 2 bogeys there, and then the birdie from Dallas. He fought his way all the way back to even, which is awesome after the slow start that he had. As we step into hole 15 here, it's a 422-foot par 3. Couple of plays here. You might see a roller down this left side that finishes up to the green. You might see a forehand that also takes this same line, and then something that I've seen a lot of players take recently is this hyzer that you see from Dallas, kind of trying to push that right side and just get lucky through the trees. And this branch that you see off to the left side is kind of growing into the fairway a lot more, which is starting to take away this roller play. Scott being a very proficient roller player, he's still going to go to that roller play, but it's slowly getting more and more difficult the more those trees have grown up on the left side.
Yeah, and you'll even see some people throw like this sidearm line. It's probably the most pure line, but not a lot of people are trusting their sidearm out to 420 feet. So you'll probably see a lot of circle 2 looks on this hole.
Yeah, with the combination of the guardian trees short and right of the basket, and then the OB and tall grass long, makes it a pretty tough hole to access, at least inside the circle. You can get it into circle 2 pretty easy, but getting too much closer than that is tough to do. And Chris, right back to his money range out here at 45, 50 feet.
And of course, Chris drains the putt. I'm not sure he's missed a putt from circle 2 yet. Maybe just one. We've got the gateway disc slow-mo here. Of course, Chris with his, I believe, Innova Fireflies, jamming them on the pole.
Yeah, it doesn't get too much more center than that, especially from 50 feet. And Dallas jams in his bogey putt.
Maybe a bit fortunate for Dallas for that only to be a bogey. Looks like he was pretty close to the water in that tall grass over there. So single bogey is not going to kill you, but he's definitely going to need to be getting some birdies near the end of this round and going into round 2.
And Jando, a very uncharacteristic miss right there. Usually a pretty solid inside the circle putter. Kind of just lets one slip out of his fingers there. And Scott going to take his par. We had a couple of bogeys from the guys there, and Chris gets it back to 9 down through 15. Great bounce back after bogeying hole 14. As we move into hole 16, why don't you tell us about one of the feature holes here?
So hole 16, 243 feet, almost plays like a pseudo island hole just because you're crossing water the entire time. This is definitely a must-get hole for pretty much the majority of the field, as it's the easiest hole in the course, averaging 2.42. You're pretty much going to throw a putter. It looks like Chris is actually going with a sidearm, but typically you'll see a lot of people throwing some kind of stable to straight throwing putter on a little hyzer.
Yeah, and that's about as errant as you'll see Scott throw a 250-foot shot. As I was editing this coverage, I was definitely shocked to see that errant of a shot. But it looks like the wind maybe started to pick up a little bit towards the end of this round.
Yeah, I think nearing the end of the round, it definitely started to pick up. But to be honest, if you're not inside the circle on this hole, you're not happy. I'm sure Scott was not happy with this effort. Let's see if he can give it a good bid. Not quite.
Yeah, especially when you know Chris is parked for a birdie, you got to step up and park this one as well. And Jando just off the mark on his. Yeah, this hole playing shockingly difficult for the feature card here. 3 pars and just 1 birdie. Yeah, just the 1 birdie from Chris. That gets him to double digits moving into hole 17. One of the more daunting par 3s, I would say. I like to call this one the beefed up version of hole 13. It's a low ceiling tunnel shot, 405 feet. A lot of people are just going to be throwing like a safe flat to hyzer kind of into this hillside to get to like a 60-70 foot approach shot. Let's take an easy par. But the way to park it is kind of carry down that right side of the tree and then skip it on into the basket. Chris kind of throwing that standard hyzer off to that left side. Really just playing for a par. Here's Scott throwing the flip up with the TL3, and that's really about as good as you can do it.
Yeah, really nice shot from Scott. It's tough because you got to push the ceiling if you want to get the distance to get to the basket, but the more you push the ceiling, the greater chance you clip a branch, and you can, even the tiniest little branch can kick you into the water. So you got to be willing to risk the bogey if you want any shot at the birdie on this hole.
It looks like all 3 of those last guys are all okay with living with the bogey. Dallas misses his shot by literally a foot or 2 and kicks the tree and goes out of bounds. Gets his approach into about 15 feet. Chris left with about 60 feet or so.
This would be a statement putt. Not quite. First missed putt from circle 2 for Chris, but putting together an excellent round.
Boom, and Jando able to knock down his probably about 40-footer. Sweet bonus birdie here on 17. Let's see if Scott can do the same. And right in the heart.
I think 2 birdies on this card on hole 17. You don't typically see too many birdies. In fact, I imagine that might have been the 2 birdies for the entire round. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like those were the only 2 birdies for the entire round. So good job to this card on hole 17.
Chris able to fight through the distraction and make his par. And now we got a couple of pretty nice rounds shaping up here towards the end of the round. Chris stays at double digits at 10. Scott gets himself to 7 down, and Justin Anderson able to get himself back to 4 down after a little bit of a schneid. Why don't you tell us about hole 18?
Hole 18 is a certified blow-up hole. This hole is probably the hole that you will see the largest range of scores, simply because that second shot, that second water carry, can be anywhere from a 320-foot carry to upwards of 400 feet. You really need to put the drive close to the edge of the water, because the closer to the water you are, the easier the second shot is. But you have to risk throwing it in the water on the first shot to do so. So this one is, I imagine this is one of our hardest 3 holes.
Yeah, and there you see it. Not too different of shots from Scott and Jando there, but their carry into the green is going to be significantly different. Scott kept his a little bit closer to the water versus Jando kind of pushed the right side a little bit more, as you see Dallas do here, and actually carried OB to that right side. And so now his third shot, you see him even electing just to pitch up here. It's hard to look in that rangefinder, see 390 over the water, and then commit to doing this. Nice little smooth turnover over the water. And Chris going to leave himself with a birdie putt.
Yeah, Justin's got the right idea here along with Chris. You really want that smooth flying turnover. You'll see some people with the big sidearm throw that shot, but looks like Dallas has a good move on this one.
Yep, Dallas able to recover nicely there. And like you said, Scott, with his big forehand, going to be able to turn to that play here with his Halo Destroyer and puts it right about circle's edge for his birdie.
Yeah, some good shots from these guys. We saw, I think, everything as upwards to it. Wow, incredible putt from Justin. I think we saw everything up to a 9 on this hole in the first round. So to be across in 2 with birdie look is what you want.
And Jando taking advantage of his birdie look there, knocking down nice little 50-footer to finish off his round. Able to get to 5 down for the round, which is fully respectable. And I believe that was actually for him to hold you off from getting on the lead card.
Yep, of course Justin had to make the 70-footer on the last hole to knock me off, but hey, great putt to Justin.
Gotta respect it. And Chris and Scott able to do the same, knock down their circle's edge putts to cap off their rounds, and Dallas gets up and down for his bogey to finish out. Bit of a slow round from Dallas, but still another round to try and fight back and cash. And everybody giving out their knucks at the end of the round here. And just
feature card doing feature card things with 3 of the top 4 best scores for the day. And
yeah, anything double digits at Trojan is a sick round. Chris able to get to 11 down. Only 1 bogey on the round, I believe. And here's going to be our feature card heading into round 2. It's actually going to be exactly the same card, except we're going to switch out ya boy, Collin Hayden, for Dallas Garber. I put together a nice little 10 down round to get myself onto feature card for round 2. And we'll see you guys in round 2's coverage.